So, I recently bought my 16th property, and over the past 12 months, my company has helped over 100 people buy a property in the UK. I'm definitely not expert, but it's fair to say I now have a good understanding of buying houses because I've done it for myself and I've done it for others. So in this video, I'm going to explain how to buy a house in 7 steps. Anytime anyone asks me the question, Vijay, how do I get started in property? I always say the same thing, that the first thing you gotta do is get educated. The different strategies in properties, the way to make money in property, best practices, the rules and regulations. I'm going to start off with the ways I've personally learned about property investing, followed by the other options that are also available. So I believe, and I genuinely believe this, that you can get most of the information out there pretty much for free from YouTube, podcasts and books, because that's what I did. I started getting educated in 2019 and pretty much read all of the top rated books on Amazon at the time. I'll pull up the list of the books I read if you're looking for ideas. Obviously, you don't need to go as extreme as me, but how I think about it is that every book will teach you something that you probably didn't know. And the beauty of books are that they're so cheap. You can pick up most of the books under a tenner and the knowledge stays with you for the rest of your life. YouTube is also such a great source of education. Again, just type into YouTube UK property investing and there will be so much stuff that you can learn, especially if you're starting out from zero. There's also podcasts now if you're not into books or YouTube, and the beauty with podcasts are you can listen to podcasts whilst you're at the gym, like I do on double speed, or if you're driving on the way, so you can multitask. Those are the 3 main ways that how I got up and running in property. But I'm sure when you think about education, you can't not talk about courses. And I know courses have a bad reputation because people just think it's a scam, and I get it. The problem is that unfortunately a lot of people sell you courses, and if you look at them, they haven't really done much in property themselves. They'll buy a couple of houses, and I swear to God, in some cases I've seen one person literally just buy one house and they started selling courses after that. So what my advice is to learn from people who actually done what you're looking to do and not just good at marketing or got like a ton of followers on social media, because none of that counts. You need to be getting educated from people who are a few steps ahead of you, and that's if you want to go down the course route. The same goes if you want to get mentored by someone. Are they actually doing the stuff you want to be doing? I know people like networking events as well. I'm not a fan personally, but I know some people like it, so that's an option. And it's not just property that's an investment. Getting educated is also an investment. So the more time you get put into getting educated, the more money you'll make in property. Next step, once you've educated yourself, you need to sit down and understand your finances. How much deposit do you have and what property you can afford? If you're buying a residential, then it goes on your income, and if you're buying it with your partner, it's your combined earnings. If you're buying an investment property, then you'll most likely need a 25% deposit, and though income is taken into some consideration, it's the property investment's value and how much rent it can generate are the main drivers of how much you can borrow. If you need help with understanding your affordability, then you can go to Google, tap in mortgage affordability calculator, and there's plenty of websites that will help you give a ballpark figure of what's possible based on your financials. Step number 3 is to figure out your exit strategy, which means what you're going to do with the property once you have it. Are you going to rent it? Are you going to flip it or convert it into HMO? Now, I know it may sound strange, like why do I need to find out my exit strategy way before I bought the property? But having the end in mind is such an important step in property. That means you need to go into the project and consider the likely desired outcome and make sure you have a backup plan so you don't find yourself losing money if something goes wrong. For example, let's say you were going to flip a property and all of a sudden there's some panic in the market like there is right now, and no one wants to buy your house. If you've thought of a backup plan where you could just rent the property instead of flipping it, then it's a smart thing to do, because no matter how great of an investment property is, and it is, I can almost guarantee you that no property ever goes 100% according to plan. So to protect your downside, you need to have multiple exit strategies well before you've even bought the property. Step number 4 is where things start to get serious and where you need to start building out your power team. One of the key secrets to property investing is having a team of people around you who are experts in the field, and when you combine these individuals, they'll help you get further in your property journey than you would on your own. This is why you should be building out your power team even before you start looking at property investment opportunities. Because think about it, it's no good finding an amazing deal, then missing out on it just because you weren't able to move quickly enough because you didn't have that particular person in your team. So who should be in your power team? Usually it's made up of 3 core members, right? An accountant, a mortgage broker, and a solicitor. Let's run through each of them one by one. Now, I know I said accountant, and if you're starting out, an accountant will be just fine. They'll be able to do your books, give you advice on what's best for you, whether it's better to buy under a limited company or best to buy under your personal name, and basically help you get up and running. But as your portfolio gets bigger, that's when a specialist tax accountant becomes more important, because most accountants, right, I'm talking about most, will understand the basics, but they may not have the specialist property tax knowledge that will help you minimize the amount of tax you pay. And I can say this from personal experience that having the correct advice could save you a fortune, so it's worth paying a bit more for that specialist advice. And if that accountant is investing in property already, that's a bonus. The next member of your power team should be a broker, and it's important to remember that not all brokers are the same. I tend to see a lot of new investors make the mistake of trying to save money by finding the financing themselves or by going the cheapest broker. That usually doesn't work out, and just like an accountant, the extra money you may have to pay for a good broker, you made that back by how much money they're going to save you by finding a better deal. The final core member of your team should be a solicitor. Now, I know solicitors get a bad name. I've tried like 8 solicitors myself now, and I can confirm it's true. Solicitors aren't very good. And the last thing you want is that you find a bargain property and the seller pulls out just because your solicitor wasn't quick enough to respond to the queries. So find a good solicitor that gets back to you quickly, understands property, and can get things done. My advice is that if you can find members of your power team by recommendation, they usually work out, and those with a good reputation, those are the kind of people you want to work with. 5th step, and you're now finally ready to find a property. The most obvious place to start off with is your online portal, so that's your Rightmove and your Zoopla. Another option, though it's not as popular as it would have been like 10-15 years ago, are your local estate agents on the high street. You can also use a deal sourcer that helps you find a property based on your criteria and budget. That's basically what my company does. We manage the entire process for our clients, from finding the property, managing the refurb, and then letting their properties out from the comfort of their home. So it's a hands-free investment. We've helped hundreds of normal people to buy their first houses, and it's a great way for people that are probably like busy with the 9-to-5 jobs, or businesses that want to get into property but haven't got the time, experience, or even contacts to do themselves. There's also auctions, but I don't personally recommend going to an auction for new property investors, and it's simply because yes, you can find bargains at auctions, but at the same time you can find a lot of shit properties full of problems. So you kind of need to know what you're doing when it comes to auctions. And the thing is, whichever method you choose, whether it's Rightmove, a property sourcer, I always suggest having a clear idea of the kind of property you want based on your own goals, and then start looking that way, because there's so many options out there, and the last thing you want to do is become overwhelmed. Once you find a property that you like, it's now time to view the property. If you can, always try to record your viewing. That way you can look back at the property and pick up things that you may have noticed when you were there at the property, because you only have a short period of time to view the property. Now, what to look out for in a viewing is a whole video in itself, but the main things are to see if there's any structural problems, can you see any cracks, right? And what's the condition of the roof, because those things are expensive to replace. I've learned that the hard way. So watch out for the roof. Then things like damp, whether the boiler works, is there double glazing, what's the plumbing like. If you're new to property, then the reality is you're never ever going to get everything right the first time, right? So there's no harm in taking a friend or a builder with you, because it's better to have 2 sets of eyes than one, obviously. And once you have found a property that you like and are happy with, then the next step is to get number crunching, which is my favorite part, by the way. If there's just one thing that you take away from this video, then it should be that you make money when you buy a property, not sell it, which means that the price you pay for a property is a key indicator of how much profit you're going to make. I personally use a deal analyzer created on Excel, and I plug in the numbers, which then spits out how much money I should be offering based on how much returns I want to make. And what this does is it removes any emotions from the buying process, and you focus purely on the numbers, because investing is all about the numbers. Once you've got the number that works for you, call the estate agents up or whoever is selling the property and make her offer, and you need to make sure it needs to be below the asking price. And the reason for that is because you need to try and get the best deal possible for yourself. And I know it may sound cheeky, but trust me, estate agents are used to lowball offers all the time, so you might as well do as well. Just because they're asking for a certain price, just remember it doesn't mean that's what you have to pay or that's what they're going to get. Hopefully by now you would have had an offer accepted below asking price, and this is the point where you instruct your solicitor to carry out the conveyancing, which in simple terms mean transferring the property to your name. Now the conveyancing stage can sometimes be stressful, it can be time consuming, and this is why you need a good solicitor on your side that will guide you throughout the process, do their due diligence, and help you avoid any costly mistakes and delays. I've worked with bad solicitors and I've worked with good ones, and trust me when I say this, that working with the right solicitor gives you that peace of mind knowing that your property transaction is in safe hands. Once the conveyancing has been done, you can then exchange and sign the contracts, which basically means you're now owner of the house. Congratulations, you can now collect the keys. That in a nutshell is how to buy a property in the UK. If you do want to learn more about property, then you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at I'm Vijay Singh, where I post daily property content. I'll see you soon.